Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. One of the things that I talk a lot about when I do talk about Linux is the fact that you have so much freedom and power to control your operating system. Everything from the look and feel all the way down to the machine code. Now, if you're from the Microsoft and Apple world, you'll know that for the majority of it, you do not control the look and feel of your operating system, and you definitely do not control the coding underneath, okay? And so for the majority of users, I think that works just fine. You know, I think for a lot of people, they don't want too many options, but they just want enough options. However, when you move over to the Linux world, it is really an open field. You know, in some cases that could definitely be a good thing, but in some cases it can be scary, especially if you are not used to this. Now, before I move forward, I do want to say that this is part of my Making the Move from Windows to Linux series. And so if you've not seen my original video where I show you how to install VirtualBox and then install Linux Mint in VirtualBox so that you can start learning Linux, be sure to check out that video. I'll put it in the description below. And for each one of the distributions that I do talk about today, I will also leave them in the link below as well. Now, when I think about using your computer, you know, everybody uses their computer differently. However, there are some main types of categories that I can think of when I think about people who use their computer on a daily basis. So I'm going to be talking about different distributions that I think will fulfill a lot of needs for those type of users. So the very first category I want to talk about is the type of users that really enjoy the look and feel of their operating system, who really has design as their main priority. And with that, the first one I would definitely recommend is KDE Neon. Now, I did do a review earlier of KDE Ubuntu or Kubuntu, and I did find that it had some issues with it, and so it wasn't my preferred version if I was using KDE. However, taking a really quick look at KDE Neon, which is actually done by the people who developed the KDE desktop environment, it is definitely a better experience. It is a lot more stable, and it didn't have any of the issues that I had in the review of Kubuntu. Now, if you are new to Linux, if you're not familiar with the whole concept of desktop environments, it is basically your interface or your GUI, okay? And so when you think about how things look, that is your desktop environment. And in Linux, there's two big desktop environments. There is GNOME, which is the most popular desktop environment, and there is KDE, which is the second most popular and which is the one that's used right here. Now, as anybody who's watched my videos, they do know that my preferred Linux distribution is Linux Mint. You know, I love the stability, I love the speed, and I love the performance. So I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. However, there are many other flavors of Linux that might suit your needs better in some cases. Now, the reason why I like KDE Neon, as I stated before, it is just a really, really well-designed, a really beautiful looking operating system, in my opinion, okay? Now, if you are from the Windows world, this will look a lot like Windows 7. You know, I would definitely say it has more in common with Windows 7 than it does Windows 10. And then if you're from the Mac OS world, you see a lot of the same elements in terms of it's very clean looking. Everything with the color schemes and everything else, it looks very cohesive, okay? And I can't say that a lot about many Linux distributions out there, but if it just comes to just the looks, the look and feel, the beauty of it, and all the little design elements, I do not think there is a better Linux distribution than KDE Neon. I will say that if you are using KDE Neon, a lot of programs that you think would be installed, they're not, you know, like LibreOffice. And so you will have to spend some time installing additional software on this because it's really, really bare bones. However, that shouldn't take you too long once you get used to it. So that is the first one that I wanted to talk about. So the second Linux distribution that I want to focus on is for multimedia. So if you are the type of person who does a lot of video editing, audio editing, and graphic design, then I really feel Ubuntu Studio should be a distribution that you should definitely look at. Now, I will say that for every version of Linux that you have, every distribution, you can change it to function the way that you want, okay? I'm showing you these distributions because of the fact that that's already been done for you for the most part, and so you don't have to spend a lot of time downloading the software, making sure you have all the right codecs and packages and so forth, okay? So Ubuntu Studio, this is a really, really powerful version of Linux if you are in any of these categories. So for example, in their audio production, they pretty much give you all the necessary software that you would need to run your audio production. You know, everything from MIDI utilities, mixers, jack controls, all the way down to audio editing tools such as Audacity and Ardor. And you can also do other things such as add effects as well. So this is a wonderful, wonderful distribution for that. And then if you are a graphic designer, you will have a lot of the main tools that you would need if you are doing any type of graphic design, such as GIMP, Inkscape, but it also has publishing tools such as Scribus, and also font managers as well, and also some photography tools that, you know, if you are taking a lot of photography with a camera, you're definitely going to be dealing with a lot of raw images, and so it's all here as well. Plus, there's also 3D tools such as Blender already built in, which is, I really, really enjoy that. And there's also additional graphic utilities as well, so it's really fully featured right there. And then for the video production, a lot of the main video tools that people use in Linux are already included. You know, such as OpenShot and Kdenlive Live, which is definitely the two most popular video editing tools in Linux. And also the extremely powerful Blender for people who do 3D modeling and animation. And there's also a built-in screen recorder as well, Vocal Screen. I myself prefer Simple Screen Recorder, but this is also a really good tool. And there's also a subtitle editor. So you could do a lot of your video, audio, and graphic design production all in one place, which is really, really an amazing thing for them to set up for you right off the bat. Now, this is based upon GNOME, and so it's not the prettiest looking operating system, but it does give you a lot of different wallpapers that you can use that look really good. And at the same time, this could definitely be your main operating system because it has a lot of built-in software that are really, really useful. So that is my pick of if you are a multimedia type of person, then Ubuntu Studio is a great, great distribution for that. Now, the second distribution I want to talk about is for a big category of users out there, is for gamers. Now, in gaming, Linux still has a long way to go. You know, I will say that for sure, because if you want a game, you're pretty much going to have to use Windows if you are a hardcore gamer. However, with Steam, and specifically SteamOS being introduced to the Linux world, there are more and more games coming to Linux and more AAA titles as well. So for a gamer, the one that I'm going to be talking about is the Ubuntu Gamer Pack. Now, you can install this software on your own as well in terms of additional gaming software, but this one, they've already done that for you. So for example, they've already installed Steam right away, so you don't have to install it. And they also have another tool called Play on Linux, which is basically a tool that will allow you to run certain Windows program inside Linux. So that is pretty cool. And they have a long list of programs that they are constantly adding and refreshing. And so a lot of these Windows programs, you can actually run them and install them in Linux. So, you know, this is a great tool to play a lot of Windows related games here. Now, obviously, it's not going to be the most, I would say, up-to-date list, but it is a great tool. And SteamOS itself, if you are really heavily into the Steam ecosystem, then you should just install SteamOS, okay? But for other people who just want to play other games outside of Steam, then that's why I am talking about this Ubuntu Gamer Pack. And other things that they include is Wine, and Play on Linux is actually based on top of Wine as well. So yeah, for all the gamers out there, I think this is a really easy to use version, and it already has Steam and Play on Linux and Wine built in. And it can run as your main operating system as well, because it has a lot of built-in software already that can be used for your daily usage. Okay, so the final distribution I want to talk about today is for the people who are really security minded. And the version I'm going to be talking about is SubgraphOS. Now, in this world of, hackings and malware and viruses, sometimes, you might want to take that extra level of security. And with SubgraphOS, encryption is on by default when you install your operating system. So this one enforces security right at the beginning. So in that case, I actually had to put in my decryption password before I even get to my user login. And, security is really, I would say, a very complex area, especially in the world of the internet. And so a lot of the security issues that we're having today is not really on our machines. It's primarily when we're on the internet and we're using services and they're running on systems that we really have no control over. However, we still have a lot of control over this type of security that we have on our operating systems. And so in the Linux world, antivirus programs aren't really something that is used. However, that doesn't mean that you can't be secure with your system. And with Subgraph, it actually does a lot of that for you in terms of things such as like the encryption that I just mentioned. And this particular version, I will say it's very bare bones, and it's really not made for users who want a lot of functionality, although you can add that functionality. Now, once you log in, the interface, this is based upon a version of GNOME. It's not my favorite version of it. However, when you get in here, you'll notice that things such as like the Tor browser is actually already built in by default. So, everything's already, for the most part, secure there with your browsing history. And they also give you some other tools that I'm not really familiar with, but a lot of secure networking tools, services, and some other software in here as well. So all of this is made for security. And like I said, this is a very, I would say, a basic operating system in terms of the actual usage. But you can go in here and add additional software as you need it. So that is SubgraphOS for the people who really have a high priority on their security and who want to keep the quote-unquote bad guys out. Okay, so that's basically my episode on Linux distributions and also some distributions that I would recommend for the type of users that I just talked about a little bit earlier. Now, if you had any other Linux distributions that you enjoy using, be sure to leave them in the comments area below. And as always, if you like these videos, you got a lot of value out of them, be sure to hit the like button and also to subscribe. And we will see you on another episode. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com. And I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.